Today, somewhere between these limestone cliffs and the open water of Halong Bay, my book went live on Amazon.
So the solution is like sake kind of, you know, it's like rice wine.
Bag size about 8 to 15 ml.
I need to update the table of contents.
Welcome back to the second act Strategist. If you are currently navigating a major midlife transition, moving away from the corporate ladder, and trying to turn your decades of experience into future purpose, you are in the right place. Let's map out your next chapter together.
Today, somewhere between these limestone cliffs and the open water of Halong Bay, my book went live on Amazon. No fireworks, no countdown clock, just quiet notification. After 5 months of writing and really a decades of living, Across the Table, Across the World is now available. I didn't expect this feeling. You imagine a moment like this being loud, celebratory, maybe even triumphant, but standing here, it feels calm, almost still. 5 months ago, I was just sitting on my desk, revisiting negotiations that shaped my career.
Boardrooms in Louisville, factory floors in Korea, supplier meetings in places where the tension filled the air was so thick you could almost measure it.
I've spent most of my life negotiating contracts, timelines, expectations, price structures. But writing a book, there's no leverage in writing. There's no partner. There's no power move. There's just you and honesty. And I realized something while I was writing this book. Negotiation is not really about winning. It's about understanding the terrain, internally and externally. And that's what this book became.
Not a memoir, not a theory, but a field menu built from real rooms and real consequences.
When you sit across the table from someone, you're not negotiating numbers. You're negotiating identity, fear, reputation, future. And I've seen deals fall apart not because of math, but because of ego. I've seen partnerships saved because someone chose patience over pride. I've seen tension become constructive instead of destructive. That's the kind of lesson you can't Google. You have to live it.
As I worked on this manuscript, I kept asking myself, why write this now? Why not 10 years ago? Why not wait another 10? And maybe the answer is this, because I'm no longer trying to prove anything. At 55, something shifts. You stop chasing validation. You start thinking about contribution. You stop asking, how do I win? And start asking, what is it worth building?
Standing here in the Halong Bay feels symbolic. These cliffs have been here for millions of years. They weren't rushed. They weren't optimized. They weren't marketed. They simply formed, layer by layer, pressure by pressure. That's how this book was written.
That's how this book was written, layer by layer, deal by deal, failure by failure, success by success. There were moments during the writing when I questioned everything. Does this matter? Would anyone care about the sourcing strategy? Will anyone want to read negotiation principles framed through lived experiences? But I remember something important. When I was younger, I would have benefited from someone pulling back the curtain, not just telling me the frameworks, but showing me how those frameworks actually unfold in real life. So I wrote the book I wish I had earlier in my career. Not a textbook, not a collection of polished theories, but something honest, practical, and sometimes uncomfortable.
Publishing isn't an end of something, it's an act of release. In negotiation, you often hold your cards close. In writing, you lay them down. You expose your thinking. You reveal your blind spots. You admit where you miscalculated. And that vulnerability feels different. It feels human. What surprises me most today is not the book is alive, it's that I feel lighter. For 5 months, this manuscript was mine alone. Now it belongs to the world. And that's the right order of things. You build, you refine, you question, you doubt and improve. And then you let go. This trip to Vietnam wasn't meant to be a book tour. It was meant to be a reflection, a pause, a reset, consideration of what the second act of life looks like. But somehow the timing feels right to launch something about negotiation from a place shaped by time and patience. There's something poetic about that. Across the table, across the world, it's now available on Amazon. But more importantly, it represents a shift in me, from operator to thinker, from practitioner to teacher, from negotiating deals to shaping dialogue. And maybe that's what the second act is about. Not climbing higher, but going deeper. If you're someone building a career, leading a team, negotiating across cultures, or simply trying to understand people better, I hope this book serves you. Not as a rule book, but as a companion. Because every table you sit at is different. But the principle of respect, preparation, and structure, fairness, those travel well. Across industries, across continents, across time. Today in Halong Bay, there was no dramatic announcement. Just water, cliff, and quiet moment of arrival. And a little bit of music. And that feels enough. The second act may be about building meaning. And this book is about first marker in that direction. Thank you for being here. The journey continues.
If you are ready to transition your corporate experience into future independence, grab your copy of Across the Table, Across the World on Amazon today. And if you want to understand the exact strategy I used to find clarity out here in the open water, click on the next video appearing on your screen right now. Let's map out your second act together.